We're so sorry, guys.
Yeah, so let's go back to what we were talking about then. Someone asked, when do we know our screening time? So for screening, we'll be sending out a spreadsheet for you to fill in what time you want to do your interview and take your test. And that'll be going out this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, hopefully Saturday. And just go ahead and fill in whatever time you're free. Screening will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Oh, and we'll have a makeup, I believe, also.
Makeup will be the weekend following. So if you're a sports person and you won't be able to be there after school or whatever reason, then you can definitely come over on Saturday or Sunday. We haven't decided yet. Depends on the popular vote. And then we can fix you up with that.
Sorry.
Inside jokes. Yes.
Not really. More technical difficulties. Alright. One thing that might have been new, you guys might have not heard, is the fact that interviews are not that long. It's around 10 minutes, and you'll be talking to one of our VPs. And it's going to be very casual, it's going to be fun. You'll enjoy it, don't worry. Don't stress about anything.
No, it's already a big one.
Okay.
Never know. What? How would you know that? Oh, I wouldn't know. Oh my.
Why are we
lagging, fam?
What are people saying now?
Just in your laptop. At least, don't worry, the quality of this VP isn't as bad as your laptop, so. Oh look, it's Grace's face.
It's Grace's face.
Guys, professionalism. It's sorry.
Hey, are there any more questions? Not that I can see.
Okay.
Okay, so one thing about testing, it's going to be a little bit more formal than the interview, of course, because it has to be all organized. So there will be divided time slots, and you guys will sign up for those through a Google Sheet that we will send to you soon tonight. So you can check tomorrow morning for that and coordinate as needed. You aren't required to take all tests for all of your events, and we want to see pretty much 2 is a good number to have tests taken for. And these tests don't count towards your final decision to a very important degree. This is just as a diagnostic, and so we will re-administer them and you will retake them sometime later before invitational start in January, so that you can, so that we can see and you can mark your progress for those events if you end up still doing those. So don't stress about that. Don't stress about anything, but know that the interview part is much more important.
Yeah. We're all here just to have fun, so.
And just to highlight during tests, if the parameters of an event say you can use materials, if you can have a binder or notes for the actual test, then you can use those on these tests also. Mm-hmm. So for astronomy, if you're allowed a computer or a laptop, you can use that for this one also.
Yeah. And also, those materials will probably take up the majority of the preparation process. So, you should probably be spending most of your time working on those. If you get, for example, if you get one sheet of paper, front and back, then you should spend as much time as possible trying to fill that with information and practicing with it and organizing it in a way that you can use.
We got a question. So Karina says, can we have some ideas on what is going to be asked in the interview? So we will start off by asking about your contribution to the, first commitment. So that's going to entail how's your attendance, how is your attendance going to be, what other extracurriculars are going to conflict with that, just so we can get an idea of, are you going to show up to our meetings, and if you do, how are you going to go about getting to us. So that could mean that you have after-school sports which are going to conflict, and therefore we can adjust it so that attendance doesn't affect you too much. So that's one thing we're going to ask. Another thing is that we're going to ask for contribution. So that means, have you been updating our resource portal? Have you been contributing to the club in that sense? What have you done with other people? Have you been collaborative? And then of course we're going to ask you about how are you doing academically towards your events. So what preparation you've done, and then you approve that with your notes, binders, other resources that you've annotated, and so on.
We may ask you why you're interested in Science Olympiad, what you hope to gain out of it also, just to gauge why you're interested in in general, it's not like we're not gonna be like grilling you or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not.
This isn't a
gonna be
roast
making-
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not going to ask you any questions about the actual event in general. You know,
Yeah.
that's left for the actual diagnostic test.
Yeah. It's
So,
like
yeah.
a non-stressful version of a non-interview.
Yeah, that's great analogy, Tracy. Yeah, it's just, once again, we just want to see how committed you are and how committed you're willing to be. Really. Another thing we take into account is if you can make the invitational for next year, because the invitationals help a lot with going to regionals and prepping for your events. And this year we have 3 invitationals that we're going to. The first one is on January 7th at Miraloma High School in Sacramento. The second one is in Tracy. That's February.
February 4th.
Yeah. And then the third one is the Golden Gate Invitational, which is going to be at UC Berkeley. And that's
February 11th.
February 11th. Yeah.
So they're all going to be pretty much back to back, and then there will be some changes in between. So to make sure that you're fully prepared for that, this interview is going to be highly crucial to see if you are ready for those events. So that's why we will require that you have a large quantity of preparation done beforehand, so that you are ready for them.
Yeah, it's gonna be
It's engineering.
So the engineering events, we're not going to have a written test, obviously, but the interview will probably also cover some like content. So in seeing how you prepared, for example, we might ask like what research you've done on like where you can get your resources for your events, or like studying the physics behind the devices, things like that. So engineering event screening will be a little bit different.
Yeah, to continue on that, a lot of the engineering events may have like a written portion of it, so that
Yeah.
part will
Yeah.
have, there's a
Yeah.
test for that. And the engineering interview will be basically, if you have any like design plans that you have already come up for your event, you might want to bring that, any prototype that really makes you stand out. And another thing is there'll be a specific task that we can't disclose now to see how really your thought process when attacking these type of events.
Yeah.
So to summarize, if you're taking solely written events, it'll just be the testing and the interview, the general interview. If you're doing if you're doing engineering events that have both a building component and a testing component, you will take the testing, you will take the general interview, and you'll take the engineering interview.
So someone also asked, do you need a parent mentor? So no, you don't need a parent mentor because Monta Vista Science Olympiad, we're all high schoolers now. So yeah, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
answer anyway.
Okay.
So we kind of expect that you're able to do like research and work yourself. Of course, if your parent is like good in whatever events you're doing and they have a lot of knowledge, please ask them and like feel free to use adults as a resource. We're not requiring you to have a parent mentor or anything.
Yeah,
though.
but they can be very helpful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for the competitions, we
Yeah.
will need parents
Yeah.
to act as event proctors. So if your parents might be interested or willing to do that, please let us know. Information about that will come like a while later.
Yeah, more about parents is like, even though they might not be helping you individually with the studying for your events, we do appreciate parent help when for testing our devices, for example, because it's really good for our engineering kids to get a sense of what the actual competition is like when we have parents actually running it. So parents do have some form of involvement, but the main focus is in our club is really you, the student.
This is from the students for the students.
Yeah.
So this is solely on you. Your parents are pretty much, they're going to be a source of a lot of help, but all the contributions coming from clubs are coming from us kids. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So there aren't any other questions at the moment.
Actually, going back to engineering events, if anyone has started building a device, which is unlikely, but in case you have, and if you haven't, like you can always start because that will give you a huge advantage in the screening process. Then during the interview, you can bring like a picture or video of your device, or even if it's just like partly done, you can give us an idea of where you're at, because really starting the building process is the most important part. A lot of people start very late, so because the process itself like might not take that much time, but it takes a while to like gather resources and stuff. So if you started at all on building your device, please do show us, because that is already like a pretty big start.
Yeah, that's really like in the written events you have your notes, you're building your blueprints and your prototype, and the fact that you're working is really the equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're not sure where to start for the engineering events, we recommend you look on YouTube. A lot of other schools upload from past years their build events, and then that can be really, really helpful in knowing like what you want to do and what worked well for other people.
Yeah, and also many websites sell kits specifically for Science Olympiad. So
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Wow.
yeah, so you can take a look at those, and like if you're willing to, or if you think it might be fun, you can try getting one. But if you do plan to ask the club for reimbursement, if it's then please notify, please ask us first, because we had some incidents last year of people spending large amounts of money.
But that's down the road, so don't have to worry about that now.
Yeah.
One thing. Oh. What?
Yes. Yes.
It's just computer. Just
Wait,
why
was
is
it
it
working?
working? It was still working, right?
Yeah.
it's
No,
still
it's still working. One thing I want to highlight is that if you're doing engineering events, one thing that could be very advantageous is that if you haven't started building a prototype yet of any sort, you could start designing a blueprint. And there are some digital tools that you could use, like SketchUp and whatnot, to start playing that out. So there's no shortage of things you can do.
You can see people who are also doing events at different schools around the nation, and a lot of like really good schools like Miramar High School, who won first in the nation last year, they also upload their stuff online, so check it out.
When you was girl was lagging, it was like,
Okay, we're back.
we're back.
Hey, let's keep talking.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah, so Grace mentioned the SciOly.org website. It has been updated for 2017. So even if you don't want to look at the forums, you can definitely look at the notes they have on that. And it's kind of, it's like a wiki page for all the events. So people upload all kinds of things, and then also the administrator of that website puts in general stuff about each event. So it is very useful, and it's a much more greater place to start than the official SOINC.org.
Oh yeah, that's just an
website.
advertisement.
Yeah, that's the official website.
Well, the SOINC.org website
Has a lot of resources for you too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and
if
it
you're
just-
stuck, then you can go there.
Yeah, and it also depends on the event, because some events might have like 2 links that aren't that helpful, and other events might have like a lot of links. Like I know that for Astronomy, there are quite a few.
Oh, by the way, if anyone has like event-specific questions, you can ask those too, because between like
any
the 5
questions
plus
you
here,
have.
we've covered like
Most
most
of
of
them.
them.
Yeah.
Why did you say we're offline?
I don't believe we're offline because it's.
Wait, it doesn't.
I can still see it. Oh, it's no longer live.
No, we're here.
Okay.
We're here.
He's
We're still
scaring us.
live, yeah.
Good.
Wait, but it says offline.
Where?
Just click on it and
Oh.
make it online then.
Oh.
Oh, we got a question.
Yay, questions.
From
Wait,
Rochelle.
let's like
Hi, Rochelle.
first fix this like offline problem.
Wait, it's not offline.
Then why does it say no? Because these are behind,
Oh
aren't
yeah,
they?
that's true. That's true.
No, that's fine.
We're fine. We are fine. Okay. Chill.
Okay.
Okay, back to Rochelle.
So Rochelle's asking, how are partners picked for the events? That is a very good question.
Right.
Right now, pre-screening, there are no partners because you guys aren't on teams yet. But once screening happens and we've done all the grading and decisions,
And it's still orange here.
are you sure?
I think it's working though, because when it's offline, we are doing that. It's lagging by like a minute.
So and then once screening is over, we will have all 3 teams selected out, and they'll be pretty even amongst what kind of level of expertise you have on those teams. So once we've placed you into those teams, you will be given the events to the best of our ability to give them to you, which events you were testing for during screening. So hopefully the 3 events that you signed up for, you get. when you're placed on a team. And so haphazardly, just from that, you will have a partner picked out for you because they also were interested in the same event as you. So there's no real way of choosing them. We will there are some events that we want like friends, like buddy people to get together. Stuff like Write It, Do It.
Yes.
Where it's very, very important that you guys know all the inside jokes of each other and all the lingo you guys use and language you guys are familiar with.
But then again, it's not a necessity. If you do Write It, Do It and you don't know your partner as well, it's a good opportunity to make new friends. That's what Science Link is all about, really, when it comes down to it.
Exactly.
Also, if you're considering doing Reddit Do It, it might be a good idea to try it at least once before, because it really depends on the person. Reddit Do It isn't something you can study for very much. It's something that a lot of people will come into good at or not as good at, so you should check that.
Yeah, I mean, between like us five, I can definitely be an example where Write It, Do It didn't work out. But these two are pros.
Yeah.
So like definitely ask them, and it's one of those events where partnership really matters. But when it comes down to screening, it's gonna be individual based, and you don't really need to worry about partners as of yet.
Also, if you're having problems with your partners, like down the line, please talk to us. Like if you notice that your partner isn't very committed or like they're not putting in as much time or effort as you are, then please let someone know. Like don't, I don't know, suffer in silence or something.
Right.
Like yeah, because we can definitely talk to them also. And yeah, just go ahead and like talk to them too. You can like ask them like, is there something going on maybe? But yeah, just like know that your work should be shared equally.
Yeah.
It's not like someone has to do all the work and someone else can just show up for the
You
event.
understand.
For some events, also
No, I never have.
I think that's like he that Jasmine.
Hey,
Yeah, this girl here. You don't want to be her partner.
No, that's okay. That's
Okay,
right.
guys, we got another question.
Oh.
So Gotham's asking, for the engineering events, what kind of sketches do you guys expect and at what level?
Okay, so we don't expect you to create them from scratch. Usually when you're doing engineering events, you'll be using, okay, so the process I've usually used in engineering events is I would buy a kit initially, and the kits range a lot in price, but even if you buy a really cheap one, you can get an idea on how to build it if you're new to engineering events or that event specifically. And then later you can use, because each kit comes with like materials and blueprint, right? You can buy those materials and build the same thing yourself, and then adjust that in order to get a better result. But so we don't expect you to like draft anything like by hand or from scratch. Even just bringing blueprints that you've printed out online or that you've like edited from online blueprints that fit the parameters, that would be good.
One more thing I want to point out is that once you get placed into teams, there are three possibilities. You are either a core competing member, you are an alternative member, or you don't make the teams. This year we have a little more. I want to say like 5 more members than we can actually accommodate into our teams. So there will be cuts to our team selections, and I'm just gonna openly say that as long as you're studying at a very good level, there's no chance you're gonna get cut. So don't be afraid of that. It's a very low cut rate. So
Yeah, most of the screening process is for determining initially what team you'll be on, but in the end, we'll be judging your performances based on like invitational competitions. So screening itself is also not only just a way for us to gauge your capabilities, but also a way for you guys to get started on your studying, because that will be really helpful during the season.
Yeah, you don't want to like study throughout. You don't want to cram all your studying until like,
Yeah.
December or something.
Science
Yeah.
market, unfortunately, is something that you can't plan for.
yeah, procrastination doesn't work on us.
And even if there is a possibility that there might be cuts, that still doesn't mean that you can't be a part of our club. We want everyone to join, and then you can definitely always come to our meetings. Yeah, we always just want you to come and learn science with us.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when you look at screening, as like Jasmine and Kiki and Grace and Krisha said, it's just the initial place where you can be, right? It's like It's very flexible. It's just to give you a structure to begin the year, and as the competition and the year goes on, it's very flexible in a way that you can be moved to different areas, different teams, and even if you may not have made it onto a team that you might have wanted to be made on, if you show commitment, really, that's all that matters. Like, it's more about long-term goals.
Yeah.
Speaking about meetings, though, also our last few meetings, not including like the one that was just yesterday, have been pretty structured. But study sessions in general, going forward from screening, aren't going to be like that. It's just going to be like we're there, and you guys will be there, obviously, and you can just study whatever. You can talk to your partners, set up times to meet, ask us questions, ask your event captains questions. It's like really open-ended. Just do whatever. We're there to have fun. You'll see like a lot of us laughing. Also, just bring something to do, I guess, and don't expect there to be like a presentation every time where we're like lecturing you. Because at this point, we're not really going to be sitting here and lecturing anymore. You guys will be like doing the research yourself, and if you have questions, of course, you can ask.
Yeah, in the end of the day, like as the meetings continue, it's going to be based on preparation for competitions, so you can take practice tests or work with your partners. At that point, it's more individual work.
We got a question from Sanjana, and she says, are there going to be backup teams? Increase a member from the team falls sick next day. Ooh, there's some grammar issues there. But
Good. We love you, Sandra.
this is science Olympiad, not grammar Olympiad. Okay. So in terms of backups, so we mentioned that another type of member on our teams are going to be alternate members. Those are going to be 5 per team, so we'll have 15 in total. And they're going to be our backup members for all 3 of our teams. They're going to function as we don't want to say replacements, they're not replacements. They are going to have certain roles throughout the entire year if you're placed as an alternate. Some roles that they have is that they're going to help preparation for the core competing members. So if they have been studying a certain event for some time and they're an alternate member, they might help out with the preparation of the core competing members who have that same event. So alternates are contributing at all times. During the actual competitions, they will be responsible for facilitating everyone's events. So they will be helping doing impounding, which you'll see what that is later, and other activities. So we definitely have backup members, and they are a big help, and we do need them, and they are wonderful people.
Yeah, basically, as Chris says, backup members doesn't mean you have any less responsibility. You just have a different type of responsibility, and we expect the same type of level of commitment that we do from our core members.
And one other thing, alternates, they don't compete, and they can't win medals. That is the downside of it. However, if you are placed as an alternate and you show us incredible amounts of strength and improvement before a competition, we will be obliged to replace you with one of the core members. So there is definitely promotions within our teams. So don't be discouraged if you're placed there.
Yeah. Once again, flexibility. Everything you can move around.
And that's just another example of how everything you do in this club is up to you. And it's up to you to reach out to us, use our resources, ask for help. There's no point in staying quiet. This is a team-based competition. So if you're not acting as a team member, you are failing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is definitely very team heavy, so you need to be participating.
We'll have like some socials throughout the year also,
Yeah.
so you can all get to know each other better. Because I think that's kind of been a problem in our club, like maybe. Because I don't know, like some people didn't know everyone's names or something last year. We'll be working on that, and we hope that you guys enjoy our socials also. Because we're all like awesome people, right?
just everyone's sitting down.
Not you.
Everyone's sitting down.
We're nerdy and flirty.
Everyone's sitting down. So not Jasmine. But then, one thing we mentioned before is like communication. Definitely, when we look at like how committed you are to the club, that means communicating with people, not only like other team members, but definitely like your event captains as well as VPs. You know, because if you have asked questions to your event captain, that really shows interest, right, into your club. So we will look and still here.
No, it's not going to show up on my computer.
No, but they're gonna see us going.
Go.
Just keep talking.
Yeah. Any other questions?
You can do this.
Not any. What? Oh, that's great.
Go back.
Jasmine.
No.
Okay.
Otherwise that screen will keep on popping up.
Yeah, you
Just
was
disable it.
Okay.
No, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Let's
it's okay.
trespass.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
bad idea though.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I'll start, I guess. So last year I did anatomy and physiology. I did cell biology, which isn't an event this year, and I did write it, do it. In previous years, I've also done astronomy and I've done experimental design. What else? I've done like rocks and minerals, but that was a while ago.
Sixth grade.
Yeah.
Wow, ago.
I
Nothing
remember
much has
some,
changed, don't worry.
Yeah, so generally, like, I'm good for bio events and some of, like, the inquiry and nature science events, so feel free to talk to me about those.
For me, last year I did experimental design, It's About Time, and bridge building. And It's About Time and bridge building aren't events this year, but then there are like extensions of those events, like towers this year is very much like bridge building. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to talk to me. And also to Mrs. Lee, who is our coach, and she is incredible. And she's very knowledgeable about all the engineering events. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to her.
Or me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, if you really want to.
Yeah.
Okay. The next
Today.
see, this is us on a daily basis. You're being real here.
No, she's usually much worse.
Anyway, so the events I have done previously, I've done dynamic planet, geologic mapping, hydrogeology, as well as experimental design. I've also done Write to Do It. I'm not the person to ask for that, but if you do ask me about Write to Do It, I will direct you towards Jasmine and Creepy. Yes, but if you have any questions in any of the Earth Science events, I am there for you.
Dynamic. Like one of the only two people who do Earth Science events.
Earth Science is one of my biggest strengths, I guess, and that's that way. And experimental design too. Just ask me or Grace. Don't ask Shruti. yeah. Don't ask Shruti.
So last year I did disease detectives, geomapping, and fossils, which they killed this year, so that's not there anymore, and as well as geomapping. Disease detectives, I'm very good at that. I'm pursuing a career in that. Hello, so ask me there, guys. But I'm also kind of an earthy, sciencey person, so you can ask me questions there too. I've done a lot of different events, some of which I don't know about anymore, because I've moved on to certain others. Yeah. So I think Jasmine.
Of the events this year, actually, I haven't done that many. I've done astronomy. That's probably the one I know the most about. I was event captain for that last year. I have done experimental design, helicopters, invasive species, rocks and minerals. So,
Like we said, though, that was 6th grade.
please.
We're not like the greatest authorities.
We do remember what the
We're not
tests
any
are like.
authority.
Yeah.
We do know what the tests are like. So if you want to ask us about like the testing process or like any basic things you want to study, like I don't know about you, but I remember some stuff.
I guess, yeah. Like
Some
Big
stuff.
There's a rock.
She remembers it was called rocks and minerals.
Because I don't think anyone else will have any experience.
we can tell you like how to study, like what kinds of resources to use,
Yeah.
even if we don't know these.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can help you like breaking down how to study because
Yeah,
obviously
but
the
if you ask
parameters
us-
are like
If
crazy.
you ask us like what hardness pyrite is, we're not going to tell you that. I know that its streak is green. I remember some stuff.
Okay, yeah, you just
Getting
stop
randomness
showing
and
up.
stuff. Okay, we got a question. So Kuna asked, do we have to go to the study sessions if we meet outside of school often?
Yes.
And the answer is, hopefully the answer is yes.
We'd like to see you there because that also shows commitment.
And
like,
And we'll feed you every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Look for our food.
I mean, at the end of the day, even if it's good that you meet your partner often and we expect you to, but we're also a team, and the way the study sessions work is also a way to check in with your teammates and see how they're doing. I mean, you're building friendships, guys.
Yeah.
And really,
These are
it
my
shouldn't
best
be,
friends.
Really?
Right, Grace?
Yeah.
really, it shouldn't be even if you meet with your partners often outside. Usually, the standard is to meet with your partner at least once a week for like a couple hours.
For each of your
Yeah.
partners.
Yeah, for each of your partners. So that's like a large time commitment, and it might vary for some people, which will affect which team you end up in the end. Because like hard work is directly proportional, very
Oh
directly
my God.
proportional to success in science 110, unless your prof is a bad.
There's no
Yeah.
correlation.
It happens once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Some
if you
short
go to the
answer.
library like on weekends,
We've
you'll
all
see,
been
like,
there,
a
like
lot
the
of-
entire
You'll see us
Saturday.
living there.
it's like our